Hey everybody, welcome. Good afternoon. Happy March. Great day. It's my daughter's 15th birthday today. So it's hard to believe that it's March 1st. I was a year ago today, I was doing a keynote in Nashville. And by the end of it, everyone was talking about the coronavirus. And here we are already a year later, which seems almost impossible. But I'm really looking forward to having our next guest on the show, Mike Seidel. Mike, it's great to have you on the show today. Co-founder and Chief Technology Officer at Workhere. You've got a great background building 6 companies, sales, marketing, software development. Your new company, which I know is going through a bit of a name change, but the current name is Workhere. And the new name is going to be, what is it again?
Pivot CX.
Okay, good. So we'll hear both names, but you guys reduce time to hire from weeks to days. You guys screen unqualified and unengaged candidates with chat and text, and it's a great solution that you're finding for employers and student recruitment and government agencies. What I love about this is I think recruitment is one of the most important things ever. I'm a big believer that people should be recruiting every day, all week, all the time, and always put themselves in a very proactive stance to hire great people, not reactively hire the wrong people. So welcome to the show, Mike. And, to really kick it off, I think one of the biggest things that is a challenge for people is qualifying people. And so at your company, when they're coming in the door, what are some of those qualifying questions that you are using to screen?
Well, an interesting thing kind of happens when people apply for a job on a job board. A lot of times they click the apply button, and what they don't know is that Indeed or LinkedIn just sent their entire profile over to the recruiter. And a lot of times that stuff's not accurate. So we'll have people that apply for a job and haven't updated their profile before they hit the apply button. And the first thing our chat agents end up doing is just making sure that the information that the job board provided was accurate, so that the candidate doesn't get screened out.
Yeah. And what happens there? Like, how can someone prevent that from happening? Or how can someone make sure that their information is correct, the candidate?
Well, it's really important anymore when you are on a job board, especially Indeed, LinkedIn. Some of the bigger ones have all went to where when you hit that apply button, they're going to share your profile with the employer. And you want to make sure that your profiles are up to date. So if you've got a license that is expiring, or maybe it says that you've been at some employers for 10 years and you left 2 years ago, you might want to update that, because a lot of times the first thing that looks at your profile isn't a human, it's an AI, and it's just looking, does this person meet the qualifications? And a lot of times people get screened out before they even get a chance to interview because they have bad information on their profile.
That's so interesting. I did not know that happened, but let's rewind there for a second. I work with somebody named Brenda Meller. She has a company called Meller Marketing, and she works with people. She works with me on I'm a business coach, but I'm not I do a lot on LinkedIn, but she is a LinkedIn specialist. And she works with people, one of the things, on not only how to unleash the power of LinkedIn, but also on how to update their profile and help them with their profile, what should and shouldn't be there. Because what you're talking about is it's even more critical than just for the reader. The AI system, the AI computer has got to see certain things as well.
Yes, you've got kind of an invisible audience for your LinkedIn profile if you're applying for jobs.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And so let's say you get past the AI. So think community, if you're listening to this, update your profile. That's pretty. And so now you get past that piece. How are you screening, unqualified and unengaged candidates? Is it a human on chats or text, or is that also AI? Like, how does that work?
So for most people who are looking for a job, if they encounter our software in the wild, the way it looks is they apply for a job on LinkedIn, and within a few seconds, they get a text message on their phone asking if we could talk about their application now. And if they answer yes, we actually hook them up with a live human right away. So there's very little AI screening that goes on with our product. But with most companies that take your application off of LinkedIn, the first thing that's going to happen is the AI screens you.
And how do you train your people on that first call?
So a lot of what we're doing is making sure that your profile is accurate and that you have the requirements. So our first call a lot of times will be, oh, it says you're a Java developer. How many years of experience do you have with Java? And then people will tell us, well, it says on my resume I have it, but I touched it a little bit in my last job. And then other times people will tell us, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 3-4 years. And then it's like, okay, we know that if we send you on to the recruiter, you're probably pretty good. So a lot of our work that we do on screening is really around, hey, can we get you talking? Are you a real person? Believe it or not, about 50% of the people that apply for a job don't respond to the employer, and they miss their opportunity because the employer sent them an email or a text message and the candidate never answered.
Isn't that amazing? I see that happening a lot too. I mean, sometimes I'll help clients of mine with recruiting, but it amazes me how many people who are actually looking don't respond.
It's remarkable.
Yeah. And so once they get them, then what happens at that phase? So kind of walk me through the continuum of, what happens for the people that you're working with.
It depends on what the job we're helping fill is, but a lot of times the questions will be around the skills that you have and making sure that you really have what you say on your resume, or that maybe we see somebody like a cosmetologist that says their license expired 2 years ago. We might confirm that, hey, do you have an active cosmetology license? And they go, oh, yeah, I do. Oh, well, it's not up to date on your profile. When's it expire? And then we're able to put that in and send it on to the employer so that they have a shot at getting a job. So a lot of what we're doing is trying to make sure all the really good candidates don't just fall out of the process because the bot disqualifies them or they're not responding. And then the recruiters, when they take over from what we're doing, have a pool of active, really interested job seekers that are talking that meet their qualifications.
Yeah. Let's talk about just etiquette of an interview, right?
Sure.
I mean, I find sometimes that people don't understand the etiquette of how to leave a message or just how to, articulate a voice or have questions ready, or, I mean, there's so many things. And so you're seeing this every day, all day. And so what are some of the things that people who are, because we're sitting here, on March 1st, we're still in COVID. Many people are unemployed. And yet many people don't even know how to interview. And so what are some tips to those people?
Yeah. So first off, all the recruiters know this, that they interview candidates a lot more than candidates get interviewed. So they know that most of the time people don't interview a lot. So they're a little more forgiving than you would think. But, if I were going to give you 2 pieces of advice as a candidate, if somebody tries to call you, after you've applied for a job, you might want to take it because it might just be your potential employer. We see a lot of people that just don't answer the phone or don't respond to messages, and I think it's because they see an unknown phone number and assume, hey, maybe this is anything from just a spam call that I don't want to take to a collection agency. And the answer is you got to answer that call, or you're never get a shot at the job. If you don't engage, who's going to hire you? The second thing that I see a lot are people that are really, really surprised when they get a text message so quickly after they apply. And a lot of times they think that the chat agent they're talking to isn't important in the hiring process. And that chat agent actually is the gatekeeper to the whole hiring process. So if you don't treat that person well, a lot of times that transcript from your chat gets shared with the recruiter or with a hiring manager, and they're going to look at the, like what it says there and make a decision on you. And we see a surprising number of people that use vulgar language when they're talking to the chat agent. See a lot of that. And that gets shared with the recruiter. There's no way that we have of hiding that. And I've seen people lose opportunities just because they're not careful about the words that they pick. And it's not like you have to parse every word you're saying. It's just there are some words that maybe you don't want to say.
Yeah. It amazes me. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I'm echoing. Oh, there we go. So, it amazes me sometimes, we're not in the workspace right now, but I've done a lot of interviewing in my day, just in the jobs that I've had. And, the people that walk in and they're rude to the receptionist, that to me, it's the same thing. right? That's a no right off the bat. You know, if I'm interviewing somebody, no matter if I like them or not, if the receptionist it comes and says, "Hey, this person was a jerk to me or not nice," that's done. That talks about their character in ways that sometimes you can't even get out of a question. So yeah, that's really well said. I want to talk to you. You know, the mindset of an entrepreneur. This is your, sixth company. You start and you build companies, and so today we're seeing. I think pre-COVID studies were showing that 85% of jobs that exist in the year 2030 don't exist today, which means this is going to be a decade of complete disruption, innovation, and just all of many things all new. And I think COVID accelerated that 5-6 years. And so now I think we're going to see a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe weren't thinking about entrepreneurship, so they can take control of their world and spend more time with their families for a multitude of reasons. So what is the mindset of an entrepreneur today? And how is your mindset different today post-COVID as an entrepreneur than it has been in many of the other companies that you've started?
I have to go faster now than I ever did. That's the biggest difference. The pace of change is faster. The window of opportunity, I think, is smaller than it used to be. If you look at my company with Work Here and our Pivot CX product, we actually, if you looked at us a year and a half ago, we're a completely different product. We were trying to be a great mobile app for finding a job. It was kind of like Yelp for jobs. When COVID hit, we made a big pivot because we realized that most companies weren't able to keep up with the speed that they needed to engage with people that were applying for their jobs. And so we rebuilt our company top to bottom over the last year, brought a totally new product to market. If I look at what happened, we've already sold more in the first part of this year than we did in all of 2020. And if we continue on this pace, by the end of April, we'll have exceeded 2020 and 2019.
How did you get in alignment and in sync with what your consumer wanted? And then how were you able to pivot so quickly, not only as a company, but as a culture?
Well, so, you brought up when we started our interview what you were doing a year ago. For me, what I was doing a year ago was realizing we had a recruitment advertising product and nobody was going to be recruiting for a while. Mm-hmm. And I lost 85% of my revenue in 1 month. Yeah. And that forced us to go, what are we doing that matters so much that people will keep buying it even if they're not hiring? And we had been doing some chat work to make our product better. We had a few employers that were having us kind of do some custom chat where we were chatting to candidates. And we realized, hey, this is working really well. What if we brought that to market? So we built out an entire chat application and integrated it with the major job boards so that we could make that, apply and then conversation happen immediately. And it ended up being the right thing. So we kind of got lucky in that COVID, by just absolutely blowing up our existing business model, forced us to look at what we were doing and go, what can we do that just delivers value no matter what? And we went there, and we were fortunate to have a few customers go along for the journey with us. So we could go take our product to them and go, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think about we're doing this now? And those customers that were with us gave us that input and helped us build the exact right product for right now. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Well, and I just, kudos to you for kind of forecasting, seeing, knowing, executing, shifting, changing. I mean, there's a lot that's been done. I've noticed that, if I look back a year from today, I had a podcast that was 3 days a week. That was all, they were all recorded. And then COVID hit, the whole world changed mid-March. And I wasn't driving anymore. My whole business around the country turned virtual, and I started doing live podcasts every day and turned my podcast into a 7-day-a-week podcast with tons of lives. And it's been great. It's like a mini master's class. And then I actually started and so I have custom coaching, which is higher end, but then I also do group coaching now, live group coaching once a week,
which I
Right.
would have never done. So it's like, there's so many great things that came out of it, but it took time and energy. And I think that's the lesson that I'm hearing from you is it takes time, it takes energy, it takes thoughts, it takes discipline, resilience. Some companies though would think we failed and what is the world going to think if we pivot this and we pivot this and we change our name? And so how do you address that? I know how I address it, but how do you address it?
Well, the thing that happened with us is that the material nature of our business changed. We used to be this mobile app that would help you find a job by location. So the name Work Here fit really, really well, right? And really what our product now is about is giving a better candidate experience. So the CX and Pivot CX is for candidate experience. And the whole idea is really change that completely. So we think the name really captures what we're doing a little better.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is kind of a transitional strategy for the name. Right now, the product is called Pivot CX and the company is still Work Here. Over time, I suspect that it will end up just being one of those two, and it probably will end up being the new name, Pivot CX.
I love it. I love it. And listen, you know what? I think we're in a world where and I agree, the pace of change is faster today than it's ever been before. And you can make mistakes. I don't want to say anything. I'm not talking about you here, but companies can make mistakes, not be perfect, shift, change, get back in alignment, and then boom, it's just like it can take off. And I was talking to a client earlier today. You can never strive for perfection. You put it up there, and then that's the only way you can know how to move.
Well, if I could show you the posters up in our office, one of them is perfect is the enemy of good.
It's true. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. We're big fans of that.
Yeah. I think I update my website every single day and tweak things every single day, just as the world begins to move. And you see, I want to talk about sales and marketing because, you're talking about, you've done more sales now than you did last year. That has all under the umbrella of sales and marketing. How are you selling in today's world, and how are you marketing to get people to knocking at your door, calling your phone number, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. So, the good news is we had been around for 4 years before COVID hit. So we had already developed a pretty good sales pipeline, and we developed a lot of relationships that we could continue to leverage. And we are doing that. But the big surprise that's come with the new product is that we're able to sell it with partners. And so we're teaming up with applicant tracking system vendors, other recruiting software vendors, and allowing them to enable their products to deliver a conversation experience. So we've really created a partner channel, and that partner channel is bringing us a lot of really solid new opportunities where, what we're looking for in our customers are companies that want to transform from maybe where it's taking weeks to make a hire to where it takes them days or hours to make hiring decisions. And they really care a lot about the experience they're giving every candidate. And those partners we have that are helping build better candidate experiences have been really good for us. So that's a big shift for us.
It's great. It's great. What kind of marketing do you guys do to bring people, bring awareness to your clients?
So the biggest thing that we do, believe it or not, is a lot of earned media work. So, we do a lot of podcasts, we do a lot of blogging, and a lot of social media. And really, we're at a stage in our existence where I don't need 100 leads today. I just need 3 or 4 good ones. And a lot of the companies that are buying from us, we've been really lucky. When I look at the companies we've signed since the beginning of the year, it's big names like PPG and CVS. We're doing business with some really shockingly big companies that are all realizing that they need a better way to engage with people that are job seekers, because the old way of not responding to people and sending them a vaguely worded email 3 weeks later isn't working for their brands. Yeah.
I mean, you got it today. The human being has a less attention span than a goldfish, which is 7 seconds. You've got to be customer centric. You've got to respond to people. It's so easy to forget a company that even on social media, even a company that you're on social media that you can just forget if you just let too much time go by. So No, I think that's huge. Mike, you ready for a quick speed round?
Sure.
All right. Favorite book and why?
My favorite book is Hooked by Nir Irwal. It's a business book about how to build products that are addictive to customers. And it really goes back to scientifically listening to a customer.
Yeah, I love that book. And he's got a second book that I love too. In what's the name of it? I can't think it off the name of my head. I interviewed him on the podcast a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Know the facts and act on them. That was Jack Welch. And the context for that is really pay attention to what's going on. Know what's really happening, not what you want to happen, not what your people want to happen. Know what the facts are and act on them.
Yeah, I love that. Last question. Finish this sentence. One thing every person needs to do to increase their sales and marketing in 2021 is?
Go faster.
One last question. The importance of the proper technology in every organization. Talk about that for just a minute.
Well, technology, if it's done right, makes your organization able to do new things faster. If it's done wrong, it becomes an excuse for not doing things.
Yeah, that's well said. Yeah. Tell everybody who your ideal client is and how they can connect with you, Mike.
So my ideal client is a company that has about 100 employees or more and is wanting to have a much better candidate experience, wants to give every candidate a great human-to-human experience, and really cares about hiring the best people.
Yeah. Think Community. We've talked about this a lot on the show. And if you visit my website, johndwoskin.com, and read my blogs or anything, one of the things which is a common theme is if you want to grow a great company, you've got to hire great people. Recruiting is something that I'm a big believer. I always say ABR, always be recruiting. It's something that we always want to be putting ourselves in a position of hiring great and proactively hiring, not reactively when we're in a bind because somebody quit and we're behind and we don't know what to do. Recruiting is an investment that I think every company needs to pay more attention to. It is, again, an investment, not an expense. So many times, many business owners and many business leaders are scared to pay dollars to hire and get the best, but it is a necessity that I think is so critical for the growth of all organizations, especially as we sit here in a post-COVID world. Having great people is so critically important. If there is another time where we are back in the office and have to work virtually at home, you need great people, you need systems, you need processes, and you need the right technology to be able to pivot really, really quickly. And like Mike said, the pace of change is faster today than it ever has before. Think Community, if Mike can help you and his team. Mike, give me your website. It's
workhere.com.
Okay, great. Workhere.com. Mike, I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom and everything that you've done and your mindset. Think Community, if Mike can help you, workhere.com. Check them out. Thanks, everybody.